Today we are driving the new 2024 Toyota Camry SE. Is this still an amazing commute car in 2024? That's what we're going to find out in today's video. But before we begin, let me give you a brief tour of this car. Of course, we have Toyota's normal key fob with the normal Toyota beep, and we have a pretty aggressive front design for this SE model. We have a full blacked out grille that is mostly functional. There are some parts of the bottom grille and a part under the headlight that isn't functional. We do have mostly LED headlights, 18-inch wheels, a color to match mirror caps, and chrome along the bottom. Now coming around back, we also have a pretty cool design. We have darkened taillights with SE branding. We also have dual exhaust and a rear diffuser down below. Now opening up the tailgate, you can't really open it up that easily from underneath, but it will open right up from the key fob. And you have an all-weather floor mat, and you also have a lot of space. You even have Camry branding on the floor mats, and it's really easy to close up the trunk. Now let's take a look and see what we get in the front row. Now this is $30,000, so we don't really get a lot of stuff, but we do get all-weather floor mats, these soft touch leatherette seats, and a pretty nice interior for 2024. Now starting it up, this is pretty outdated since it was updated in 2018, so we get the old-fashioned key fob. If you're a fan of this, then the Camry is definitely for you. Now as it starts right up, as you can see, no problem. We got all our controls down there. We even have a heated steering wheel, which is very impressive for $30,000. Let's just shut that off. We have storage space and a manual tilting and telescoping steering wheel. Now the center area is pretty simple. We get heated seats. We also get two cup holders, and it's mainly made of plastic, which is completely fine for $30,000. Now this screen is kind of tiny, and the old infotainment system is kind of frustrating to use, especially if you need something in a hurry, but the climate controls are very simple. Now in reverse, we have a pretty low resolution backup camera, but it still gets the job done. Now down here we have a little bit of space in the center console, not a bad amount, and we also have a pretty big glove box. Up top we have controls, and in the second row, we actually get a nice place. Now we don't have a lot of amenities, we don't get USB ports or anything like that, but the seats are very comfortable. We get the same soft text leatherettes, we get storage there, and I just have to say, for a mid-sized sedan, this Camry is very impressive in the second row area. But let's close up that door, and let's take a look at how this one drives on the road. Okay, so first driving the Camry, this is actually pretty nice considering it hasn't been updated for 6 years. Now we have the 4-cylinder engine today, which I think most people will be going for that because it's more affordable and it's offered on the lower trim levels. Now there is a V6 option if you don't like this engine. That puts out about 301 horsepower, about 98 horsepower more than what we have on the 4-cylinder. Now, it's not to say that the 4-cylinder is bad. We have plenty of power, and it gets right up to speed. Let's see an acceleration test. Okay, so not bad for a 4-cylinder engine. That gets up to speed pretty quickly, and as we all know, it's going to last forever. Now, if that still isn't enough for you, there is of course the V6, and the XSE comes optional with it. That puts out around 301 horsepower, which is a good amount for a Camry. Now, if that still isn't enough for you, you can't get any more power unless you modify it, but you can get the TRD, which has a special exhaust note, and it also has optional summer tires. Now talking about the transmission, that was also kind of a transmission evaluation. We have the 8-speed automatic, which is an amazing transmission. A lot of cars have it now, the Highlander, the Grand Highlander, you name it. Now, it is kind of slow, and it is a little bit slower than I expected. I know on the TRD it would be upgraded, but this was just a little bit slower than I would have liked. Of course, most people wouldn't even notice and most people don't even care, but I'm just going to mention that because that is part of the transmission evaluation. Now, this Camry doesn't let in a lot of noise, but there still is some noise that gets in, and I wouldn't say it's the quietest car I've been in. I know that the Honda Accord is pretty quiet, especially that new one, so I think that would be one of the quieter ones. Now, this Camry also is an amazing car for ride quality. Of course, I don't really talk about it that much, I just say the car is smooth in general, but we have a very bumpy road on our test drives, and usually when I test Toyotas, we're going to go on this test drive route, so I might be including that a little bit more often. This Camry has a very nice ride quality. We have 18-inch alloy wheels, so that is part of it, and I think the suspension is still great in 2024. Now, I'm sure it's not the best. I haven't really been in many mid-sized sedans, but I know that this Camry does a pretty good job of soaking up the bumps. Now, when it comes to handling, the Camry also does an amazing job with that. We don't really have a handling test today, but as we were turning the corner and as we were driving it a little bit before I started recording, this was doing a great job of keeping us relatively level, and I think the suspension is still amazing for 2024. Now, it's not like a sports car or anything, because it definitely isn't. Of course, you can get the V6, but that's not really going to give you a suspension upgrade. Well, that's really all there is to talk about with this drive route, so I'm just going to leave it at that, and the rest will just be a quiet drive.